Hello and welcome to the very first SSDG production. My name is Shane and today we're at Buchmiller Park in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. This is a par 3 course. It's my home course and let's jump right into the course. Hole 1, 288 feet. Got some nice gaps on the left and right here. Feel like there's a lot of opportunity on this first hole of the course to start off with a nice birdie, get a real nice start to your round. Let's see how it plays out for me. Just not what I wanted to do there at all. I wanted to get to the left of all those trees, but maybe it's the camera nerves. First time playing on film that I just hit the one spot that you can't hit on this hole. And some more problems, just hitting those little branches there, didn't really take that into consideration on that throw. Now we have a long putt for the par save. And we just miss it. Honestly, a pretty nice bid, I just don't have the power to do 80 to 90 foot putts. And gonna start the round off, unfortunately, with a bogey there. But we got a lot of game left. Hole 2, 285 feet. Feel like this hole really favors righties because you can just do a backhand and get it as close as possible to the basket for your birdie putt. So I feel like as a lefty it poses a little bit more of a challenge. Let's see how it plays out for me. Honestly, not a bad first shot from my experience and knowing how much I've played this course and where I usually end up. So we actually have a birdie look here. And a bit short. That was my first straddle putt of the day. Hopefully we can work on that later in the round. And we're going to finish up with the par here. But we will happily take that first par of the round. Hole number 3, signs a bit beat up, but I'll help you guys with any of the missing details. 247 feet on this hole. Again, have those trees in the middle. We do have a mandatory play here. So instead of doing my lefty backhand to the left of those trees, going to try to go to the right here. And that is just, that's just a bad throw. And at this point, I'm past that mandatory sign. I think you're supposed to play to the right the whole entire time. But you'll see here that I'm not going to do that. Just going to go back to that lefty backhand. And that Thunderbird just fades back so nicely. And we are pretty much parked for the par putt. We will happily take that on this hole. I don't think I've ever birdied this hole, so I will gladly take a par there. Hole 4, 295 feet. Have this pesky little tree here in the middle that eats up so many discs, but basket down here to the left on a very dangerous green. Opting for the flick again here. Want to get past that tree and then fade to the basket. And sadly, we faded before the tree, so we actually surprisingly have a look now. The disc rolled down the hill a little bit. Actually have a look. Yeah, just gonna lay up here. This is such a dangerous green. That could roll all the way down and then you're looking at another bogey early on. So we'll take the par and move on to hole 5. 341 feet. This is the first hole of the course where it feels like you can just let it rip and try and get as close to the basket as possible. Also, I feel like it favors lefties given that wide gap on the left side. So I end up using all of that gap, and we are in a really favorable spot. This is probably the furthest drive I've ever had on this hole. I'm shocked that I have a birdie look here. And so close off the front of the basket. That's usually my weakness with putting. I just leave it short. I always try to just lay it in instead of just hitting those chains and letting the chains do the work. So I'm going to have to tap in for a par there. Let's see what we get on hole 6. 239 feet. Again, I feel like this one favors the lefties because you have a lefty backhand shot here. So we're going to do that same approach as we did on hole 5, just not as far of a distance. And going to get some really nice fade here. And the skip. It looks like we're pretty much parked, but we do have a look here. And I knew it right away as soon as I threw it. Just wide left. I mean, it hit the basket, but I just knew it was never going to go in as soon as it left my hand. And sadly, tapping in again for par. Just feel like I left 2 birdies there on the course. But jumping into hole 7 now. 312 feet. This hole used to give me a really hard time, just with the different angles and the hill towards the end. I've done a little bit better on it in recent history, but let's see how it plays out for me today. And sadly hit that tree there on the left. Honestly, it's still faded down, so it really wasn't too bad. This is usually where I end up for my second shot. And that is wide right. I've never thrown it all the way over that way, but luckily the fade of that Thunderbird disc brought it back in to give me a look. Just nick the basket there. I don't know why I got so worked up about that, because that's a tough putt for me to make personally. Maybe I just was upset that that was for the par, and I have another bogey in the first 7 holes. Hole 8, 316 feet. This is a pretty interesting hole because you're elevated to start, and it's down the hill towards the end. The road is out of bounds. My first shot here, it felt really good out of the hand. It had that snap that you want to get every time you drive the disc, but I just drove it right into a tree, and it just fell from there. This second shot here, again, my flick is just not on today so far, and that's going to be out of bounds at the road. So we're going to have to bring that guy back in and try to salvage a bogey here. And I left that short too. I don't know what is happening with the putting so far, but all of a sudden our score is doubled from a 2 over to a 4 over, and I'm just not feeling good right now about that. Let's try and turn it around on hole 9. 216 feet. This is a straight shot, but it is a bit tight in the ceiling because of some trees in the middle, and then of course just trees all along the left and right. Gonna throw my rock 3 here, mid-range disc, and fading out to the right, but honestly this is my best drive I've ever had on this hole. I've birdie look, and I hit the front of the basket again. All of this putting is just getting in my head, I think, with all this camera stuff going on. That I feel like should have been another birdie, but going with the par again, and we're now in the back 9. I'm feeling optimistic about the back 9 coming into hole 10 here. 220 feet. Another straight shot. Getting out the Thunderbird this time, actually. And it works out. I get the skip up the hill. We are actually parked on this one. I am psyched. This is going to be my first birdie on camera. This is a slam dunk. There it is. First birdie of the round. Starting to chip away at that over par score. Hole 11 here, 292 feet. I really like this hole. I feel like this is another good hole for lefties. You can just throw it out to the left backhand and have it fade in there, down in under the tree towards the basket. And I leave this drive too low. If that drive is higher, it's going to go further, and it's going to skip down to the basket for an easy birdie lay-in. I have a challenging putt here. I honestly couldn't have putted it any higher because of those branches there, so that was essentially a layup, and we got some nice roots in there to stop that disc from rolling away. And again, another par, just laying it in. Hole number 12 here, 223 feet, a shorter hole, but you can't really see the basket all too well, just the band at the top there. And I'm opting for the flick again. And this time it works. It looks really good. I'm so happy with it out of the hand. It looks good to me. I'm feeling good about it right now, but when I get down there, it's actually overshot. I usually don't overshoot this hole, so just give myself some props for having a nice flick drive, but a tough putt here for birdie. Yeah, just going to lay that up again. The tree branch there, it would be impossible to putt it any higher than I did. So again, just another lay in for par. Hole 13 here, 203 feet. All uphill, so it feels more like 250 feet or so. And fun fact on this, I just aced it last week. It was my first ace. I wasn't expecting it at all. But actually opting for a different disc here than the Thunderbird, because that one will just fade out of bounds more times than not for me. And we, again, get the nice bounce up the hill like we had on hole 10. And we're going to line up here for what looks to be birdie. And yes, we get it. That's 2 birdies within the last 3 holes. That feels really good, bringing that score back to that 2 over. Going into hole 14 now, 230 feet. Another interesting hole. Goes off to the left in another downhill scenario, but this time you can't even see the basket. You just got to get it through these trees on the left. Hope it gets down there for a birdie putt. And oh my goodness, this is insane. When I threw this one, I knew it got down there, but I didn't know it was this close. Had to do a replay here. That fade at the end there just to avoid that tree. And then the weird, awkward roll it did to just stop right in front of the basket. This is usually such a dangerous green, and it just rolls away. Incredible. Hole 15, 161 feet. We're feeling good now. We got 3 birdies in the last 4 holes. We're on a roll. Let's see if we can keep it going. Opting again for the flick here. I've been flicking this one as of recent, and even though it's 161 feet, I still leave it short. This is usually where I end up on this hole. Really need to work on my flick to secure some of these holes for more guaranteed birdies. And just leave that one short. It might look like less distance on camera, but it's an uphill shot, and I just cannot make those really long putts. Definitely got to work on that. Hole 16, 239 feet. I'm really hoping to get a birdie here to get my score back to even. That would be great. And this first shot here with a distance driver, the Kestrel, I get it actually really a lot closer than I normally do, and I'm psyched. I'm so excited to lay this in for the birdie. And oh man, I'm so frustrated. I just missed it. Just tossing the mini disc for fun. And another one of these little lay-ins for another par. Still 1 over, but I'm still optimistic we can birdie hole 17 to try and get us back down to even. 262 feet. Basket is straight ahead. Another very dangerous green. Let's see how it plays out. Going with the Kestrel again because I loved it on the last drive, and I hit that tree there. It's kind of hard to see where it landed, so there's another angle. And we have another challenging look here for birdie. I feel like this is my absolute last chance of the round to get an even score. Oh my gosh, I just missed it. I have to do a replay with it even though it isn't an actual make or anything. I just give 100%. You can see I put as much on as I could avoiding that tree, and it just, oh man, I couldn't have gotten any closer without hitting any chains or anything. So this looks close on camera here, but I'm nervous for this putt. This is, I feel like I must make this, and thank goodness I do. Keeps us at 1 over par. Did not want to go in with a bogey to 18 because this hole is the most challenging hole on the course. It's very hard to birdie this hole, especially as a beginner. It's very hard to par it as a beginner as well. And I'm looking to do a flick here just because I had a couple good flick drives on some previous holes, but going with my traditional backhand, and I shank this so bad. It somehow gets through! Unbelievable.
Oh my goodness.
I am so psyched that that got through. That saved my 1 over par score. I thought I was going to be doomed. Somehow we now have a nice, easy look up to the basket here. And for some reason, I throw my fairway driver, the Thunderbird. I should have just thrown a mid-range there. It faded a lot to the right. But once I get up there, it's not too bad. It's manageable. And I'm ready to sink this in and end up my round today with that 1 over par. Let's see if we can get it. Oh, man, we sunk it. Secured the 1 over par. Just showing the 1 there. Really psyched about that. Final score, 1 over par. It's my best score ever. At this course, any course ever, 1 over par. Previous best here was 3 over par, so honestly, I'm super psyched. And there were so many opportunities to get some birdies here and there, like hole 5, hole 6, and just silly mistakes like on hole 1. I usually birdie or par that hole. If I just do the usual stuff that I do, like on hole 1, I would be at even or potentially under par. So those little things at the very start of the game can cost you at the end, and it cost me at the end. So there's definitely some room for improvement. But thank you guys for tuning in to the very first production of SSDG. Again, my name is Shane Symonds. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you guys again for the next round.